welcome back to our channel. In the winding corridors of American history, there are moments when the most ordinary objects transform into extraordinary artifacts. In a dusty attic box, in an old coffee can, or forgotten deep in a dresser drawer, a small coin, one barely noticed in its own time, can emerge as a prized treasure. And few coins embody this phenomenon more stunningly than the 1958 5-cent Jefferson nickel, a coin whose humble beginnings have given way to a legend that collectors still chase with passion and persistence. 1958 was a year painted in shades of change. Across the United States, the civil rights movement was gaining momentum. Alaska and Hawaii stood on the brink of becoming the 49th and 50th states. A new sense of national identity was bubbling beneath the surface, fueled by hope, ambition, and the quiet courage of everyday Americans. Amid this backdrop, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and Denver continued their timeless work, striking coins that would carry the dreams of a restless nation in pockets and purses everywhere. The Jefferson nickel had been part of American life since 1938, but by 1958, its design had grown so familiar that few paused to admire it. Felix Schlag's portrait of Thomas Jefferson remained resolute on the obverse, while the stately Monticello graced the reverse. To most, it was merely a coin to be spent on a cup of coffee, a ticket stub, or a favorite magazine. But hidden within the sea of 1958 nickels were a few that would one day become the stuff of legend. Mint records show that more than 168 million nickels were struck that year, split between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. And yet, even within such a massive mintage, quality varied dramatically. Production pressure was high, and die maintenance was often rushed. As a result, most 1958 nickels suffered from soft strikes and blurred details, especially across the steps of Monticello, a vital feature for discerning collectors. Perfectly struck coins were rare, and as decades passed, that rarity only deepened. Fast forward to the 21st century. Suddenly, collectors began turning their attention to modern nickels, realizing that high-grade survivors from the mid-20th century were scarcer than once thought. Particularly elusive were 1958 nickels with full steps, a term describing uninterrupted lines on the steps of Monticello under close magnification. Coins without nicks, scratches, or flattened features became the holy grail. Those few that survived in gem condition shot to the top of every serious collector's wish list. Auction houses and private collectors soon realized the hidden potential locked inside these seemingly common coins. In an electrifying auction in Chicago, a 1958 Jefferson nickel-graded MS-67 Plus with full steps by PCGS sold for an astonishing $142,000. Just months later, another specimen, flawless under microscopic inspection and boasting a luminous natural luster, commanded $155,000 in a private transaction between two elite numismatists. Today, the top-tier 1958 5-cent coin, especially those boasting full steps or dramatic mint errors, can fetch anywhere between $90,000 to $160,000 depending on grade, eye appeal, strike quality, and provenance. An ordinary coin in everyday commerce has become a king among collectibles, showing how patience, history, and a bit of magic can converge in the most unexpected ways. Beyond mint quality, another exciting chapter unfolded for 1958 nickels, error coins. During that transitional era, mistakes at the mint were not uncommon. A few 1958 nickels exhibit striking anomalies, double die obverse, off-center strikes, and even some struck on improper planchets intended for foreign coinage. These mint errors are treasured not only for their visual drama but also for their extreme rarity, often drawing competitive bidding wars at top auctions. Consider the story of a retired schoolteacher from Ohio who, while organizing his childhood coin collection, stumbled upon a nickel that looked sharper than the others. Intrigued, he submitted it for grading. It returned from PCGS as an MS-68 full steps, one of only a few known at that grade. He later sold it for $138,000, a sum that paid off his mortgage and left enough for a once-in-a-lifetime European vacation. Or think of the teenage collector from Arizona who sifted through a box of old bank rolls given to her by her grandfather. In that forgotten treasure trove, she found a 1958 nickel with a rare double-die reverse, netting her over $100,000 and launching her into a lifetime of numismatic adventure. Every 1958 nickel tells a story, but those in pristine condition tell a story of survival against the odds. Each tiny detail, the sharpness of Jefferson's hair, the clarity of Monticello's steps, the absence of blemishes, becomes a testament to what was, and what might still be found. And with today's prices climbing steadily, more collectors are focusing on this once overlooked gem, hoping to find their own piece of hidden history. So the next time you encounter a simple 5-cent piece, don't dismiss it too quickly. Turn it over in your hand. Study its surfaces. Let the light dance across its design. Because within that modest circle of metal, you might just uncover a treasure born in 1958, a relic of a pivotal American year, a silent witness to decades of change, and perhaps, just perhaps, a coin worth far, far more than its face value. In a world where fortunes are often digital and fleeting, there's something profoundly grounding about a real, tangible object, a coin, holding so much weight, history, and potential. The 1958 Jefferson nickel reminds us that sometimes, the most extraordinary stories are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone curious enough to look a little closer. In the vast, unbroken rhythm of American life, small moments often pass unnoticed. A child tosses a coin into a wishing fountain. A teenager buys their first soda at a corner store. A father slips loose change into his son's piggy bank after a long day of work. And yet, somewhere among those ordinary exchanges in 1988, a 5-cent piece slipped quietly into circulation, a coin so seemingly ordinary, yet destined, for a lucky few, to become a life-changing treasure. 1988 was a year of contrasts. America watched with cautious optimism as the Cold War showed signs of thawing. In the music world, pop and rock ruled the charts. Technology buzzed with the promise of personal computers and satellite communication. Against this backdrop of rapid change, the U.S. Mint continued its steady march, producing millions of coins that would pass hand to hand, narrating invisible stories of everyday life. Among these coins was the Jefferson nickel, a familiar figure now decades old, but still emblematic of American ideals. Designed by Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel had by then become woven into the nation's fabric. Its front showcased the steadfast profile of Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse proudly displayed his elegant home, Monticello. But beneath the sheer volume of nickels minted in 1988, well over 900 million combined from Philadelphia and Denver, hid a secret that few would notice at first glance. Not all 1988 nickels were created equal. Many 1988 nickels suffered from weak strikes, soft details, or early die deterioration, symptoms of the mint's frantic production schedule. But in the hidden corners of mintage records, a few exceptional coins slipped through, those rare pieces where the dies were fresh, the metal was clean, and the strike was absolutely crisp. Even rarer still were nickels that survived the brutal gauntlet of circulation without a single mar, scratch, or blemish. Over the years, these elusive survivors gained legendary status among collectors. By the early 2000s, numismatists were paying closer attention to modern-era coins, realizing that pristine examples, especially those graded MS-67 or higher with full steps, were far rarer than vintage coins that had been coddled by collectors for generations. Auction houses soon saw fierce competition for high-grade 1988 nickels. In one remarkable event in New York, a stunning MS-68 full steps 1988 D nickel shattered expectations, hammering down for $118,000 under a storm of bidding. Another gleaming Philadelphia issue, also MS-68 with complete full steps, found a new home for $121,000 at a private sale. The collector world buzzed with the news. A coin many had once overlooked was now ascending to the pantheon of modern numismatic legends. Today, the most pristine, perfectly struck 1988 5-cent coins can command prices anywhere between $65,000 to $125,000, depending on condition, certification, and sometimes a special pedigree tied to historic collections. A mere 5 cents at birth, but potentially a 5-figure fortune for the lucky and the wise. But beyond the elite, another layer of fascination lies within the 1988 nickel, the world of mint errors. A small number of coins reveal dramatic off-center strikes, double die reverses, broad strikes, and even coins mistakenly struck on foreign planchets. These errors transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, with many fetching tens of thousands of dollars depending on the boldness and appeal of the mistake. Take, for instance, the tale of a truck driver from Kansas who, during a slow evening at a roadside diner, noticed a strange-looking nickel in his change. It seemed sharper, brighter, almost different. On a whim, he sent it for professional grading. The result? An MS-68 full steps 1988 P. Jefferson nickel, the finest known of its type. That coin later sold for $120,000, enough to allow him to retire early and pursue his lifelong dream of restoring classic cars. Or the story of a teenage girl from Vermont who, while helping her grandfather organize his old coin jars, discovered a 1988 D nickel with a stunning off-center strike. Graded and authenticated, that error coin fetched over $55,000, funding her entire college education and then some. The charm of the 1988 5-cent coin lies in its paradox. It is at once common and rare, familiar yet exceptional, a silent reminder that greatness often hides in plain sight. In a world obsessed with the flashy and the new, this humble nickel teaches patience, sharp eyes, and a belief that hidden treasures still await those willing to look a little closer. Collectors today treat high-grade 1988 nickels with reverence. They marvel at coins where Monticello's steps remain untouched by time, where Jefferson's hair curls are etched as if frozen in the moment of striking. They seek out that silky, untouched luster, that razor-sharp strike that whispers of perfect timing and improbable survival. In an age when digital currencies and virtual assets dominate headlines, the 1988 5-cent coin stands grounded, a real, tangible link between America's past and its future. It holds the weight of history, the thrill of discovery, and the promise that even in the most ordinary moments, the extraordinary can unfold. So the next time a nickel passes through your hand, pause for a moment. Look a little closer. Maybe, just maybe, you'll find a 1988 Jefferson nickel gleaming with possibility, a silent ambassador from another time, ready to rewrite your story in ways you never imagined. In the America of 1979, the hum of change was ever present. The country was pushing through an era marked by political upheaval, economic uncertainty, and cultural redefinition. Television sets flickered with the faces of new leaders. Gasoline prices soared. The Cold War still loomed. Yet in the midst of all these grand narratives, ordinary lives carried on, their stories written in the quiet exchanges of daily life. And it was within these moments, between a clink of change on a counter, a child's delighted pocketful of coins, a bus fare tossed into a collection box, that the 1979 5-cent Jefferson nickel entered the world. Designed 4 decades earlier by Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel had long become a trusted cornerstone of American currency. Its familiar obverse portrait of Thomas Jefferson offered a sense of permanence in a rapidly changing world. The reverse, a depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia home, symbolized stability, vision, and endurance. Yet despite this aura of timelessness, something subtle was shifting in the minting world by 1979. Production pressures had intensified. The U.S. Mint was tasked with meeting an ever-growing national demand for coins. Striking millions of nickels each day meant that dies wore out faster, quality control slipped, and coins often rolled out with shallow details, worn steps, and soft, mushy impressions. The meticulous craftsmanship of earlier decades was giving way to speed and volume. And so, in this ocean of nickels, flawless examples became not merely rare, they became miracles. Among these billions, the rarest were those with full steps on Monticello, a tiny detail, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye, but sacred to collectors. Full steps meant that every line on the steps of Monticello was clearly struck, uninterrupted, and bold. It was the ultimate mark of precision. Finding a 1979 nickel with full steps was like finding a perfect snowflake in a blizzard. Years passed. Coins were spent, lost, worn down. Few people ever considered saving a 1979 nickel. It was just 5 cents, a cup of gumballs, a payphone call, a memory quickly spent. But somewhere, somehow, a few pristine nickels survived, tucked away in drawers, coin jars, and forgotten piggy banks, their beauty preserved by luck and chance. As the 1990s dawned, a new generation of collectors began to recognize the incredible scarcity of these flawless 1979 nickels. Auction houses took notice. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC began to certify the best examples, shining a spotlight on coins previously ignored. And what followed was nothing short of electrifying. Stories of life-changing discoveries emerged. In 2004, a retired postal worker in Nebraska decided to cash in his childhood coin collection. Among the wheat pennies and buffalo nickels was a gleaming 1979 D nickel, sharp and untouched. When he sent it for grading, it came back as an MS-68 full steps, one of the finest ever seen. It sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $130,000, changing his life overnight. another tale tells of a teenage collector in Maine who, after spending months searching rolls of nickels from local banks, stumbled upon a near-pristine 1979 p nickel. The steps were clear, the luster untouched, and when graded, it received an extraordinary MS-67 full steps designation. The coin later fetched $125,000 in a heated auction, helping fund the young man's college education. Today, the value of top-condition 1979 Jefferson nickels, those bearing the elusive full steps and dazzling mint luster, sits between $78,000 to $140,000. This remarkable price range reflects not only rarity but the profound emotional connection collectors feel for these survivors. A simple nickel, worth practically nothing at face value, transformed by history and perseverance into a king among coins, the challenges in finding these treasures are immense. For one, the 1979 D nickels are notoriously plagued with soft strikes, meaning the steps on Monticello often blur into a featureless slope. Philadelphia minted examples fared slightly better, but still, truly sharp strikes are beyond scarce. Mint sets from 1979 offer some hope, but even there, time and handling have robbed many coins of their original perfection. Grading plays a crucial role. A coin must not only exhibit full steps but also have pristine surfaces free of distracting marks or dullness. One small nick, one slight rub, can drop a coin's grade, and its value, by tens of thousands of dollars. That's why the handful of MS-68 full steps nickels from 1979 are so fiercely prized. They represent a level of preservation almost too perfect to believe. The passion surrounding these coins isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of the hunt. It's about honoring craftsmanship. It's about holding a piece of history in your hand, feeling its weight, seeing the way it catches the light, knowing that it survived all odds to reach you in its original, untouched glory. One particularly poetic story comes from an elderly gentleman in New Mexico. A lifelong coin enthusiast, he spent decades searching through coin rolls. His wife often joked that he was chasing fairy tales. Yet one spring morning, as he was examining a batch of nickels he picked up from a small-town bank, he found it. A 1979 D nickel so sharp, so perfect, it took his breath away. When it was certified as an MS-68 full steps and eventually sold for over $138,000, he cried tears of joy, knowing that his patient faith had been rewarded. Another collector in Florida discovered her prize in a far less likely place, a handful of coins tossed into a junk drawer after a family garage sale. While sifting through the change, she noticed a 1979 nickel with an unusually sharp image. What she thought might be worth a few dollars turned into a staggering $120,000 payday when experts confirmed its rare full-step status. Today, when coin conventions gather across the country, collectors still speak in reverent tones about the mythical 1979 nickel. They swap tales, compare notes, and hope to be the next lucky one to uncover a hidden treasure in an unassuming roll or forgotten stash, and perhaps, the most magical part of all, they still exist out there. In dusty jars. In shoeboxes under beds. In the pockets of old coats. Waiting. Enduring. So the next time you find a nickel, plain, worn, seemingly ordinary, stop for a moment. Look closer. Hold it to the light. Study the steps on Monticello. You might just find that hidden masterpiece, that whisper from history, that tiny token of perseverance and beauty. And in doing so, you could turn a simple 5 cents into a fortune that would make any collector's heart race, and your life forever changed. The year was 1996. Across the United States, a wave of optimism was sweeping the nation. The economy was booming. Technology was advancing faster than anyone could keep up with. The internet had just begun to change the way people lived, worked, and connected. The Olympic Games were celebrated in Atlanta, bringing nations together. Everywhere you looked, it felt like America was stepping boldly into the future. Yet, beneath the excitement of the new, there still remained echoes of tradition, simple, ordinary objects that carried stories of history and resilience. One such object was the 1996 Jefferson nickel. By 1996, the Jefferson nickel was an old friend to Americans. Designed by Felix Schlag in 1938, it had been quietly passing from hand to hand for nearly 6 decades. Thomas Jefferson's familiar face looked back from every coin, while Monticello, his grand Virginia estate, stood proudly on the reverse. Though often overlooked in the rush of daily life, the Jefferson nickel remained a steadfast witness to the changing tides of American history. In 1996, minting technology was far superior to the crude presses of earlier years, yet ironically, producing flawless coins remained elusive. The striking process still battled issues of die wear, weak strikes, and hurried production. Mint workers focused on quantity rather than perfection. Most nickels from this era, though shiny and new, carried imperfections, faint details, poorly defined steps, and occasional surface marks. In the ocean of 1996 nickels minted at Philadelphia and Denver, the vast majority were ordinary, born to be spent, scuffed, and forgotten, but hidden among these millions were a precious few, the miracles. The coins that, by some combination of perfect die state, careful handling, and sheer luck, survived with razor-sharp detail, luminous luster, and the elusive full steps across Monticello. To a seasoned collector, full steps are the holy grail. They represent a coin that was struck with near-mechanical precision, capturing every fine architectural line of Jefferson's iconic home. For those who understand the rarity, a 1996 Jefferson nickel in pristine condition with full steps is not just valuable, it's a revelation. Collectors across the country have spent years, even decades, hunting these treasures, knowing full well that finding one could mean a discovery worth more than dreams could imagine. And today, the finest examples, flawless, brilliant, and graded at the highest levels, command extraordinary prices, ranging between $52,000 to $106,000 depending on condition, mint mark, and provenance. The stories of discovery have become legends in their own right. There's the tale of a middle-aged man from Oregon who, in 2017, bought an unsearched bag of bank-wrapped coins at a flea market, more out of nostalgia than expectation. Buried among the tarnished coins was a nickel that shimmered differently under the light. Upon closer inspection, he noticed the impeccable sharpness of Monticello's steps, each line perfect, each stair distinct. He sent it off to be graded, and when the verdict came back, MS 68 full steps, he was stunned. The coin sold at auction for a life-changing $102,500, paying off his mortgage and funding a trip around the world. In another story, a young woman in Colorado inherited a small collection from her late grandfather. Among the silver dollars and old wheat pennies, she found a coin in a plastic flip labeled "Nice Strike." Curious, she had it evaluated, and to her amazement, the 1996 nickel was among the highest graded full steps examples ever seen. It fetched an incredible $98,000, giving her the means to start her dream bakery business. It's not just the perfect coins that captivate collectors, it's the chase itself. The 1996 nickel has become a symbol of perseverance, attention to detail, and hope. Roll hunters across the country still search through bags and boxes, their eyes keenly tuned to that glimmer of perfection, that hint of untouched brilliance. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have only certified a handful of 1996 nickels at the highest levels. MS 67 and MS 68 full steps examples are vanishingly rare, and as time marches on, finding an uncirculated, untouched example becomes more unlikely with each passing year. Most coins have succumbed to the simple wear and tear of life, pocket friction, cashier drops, careless storage. Mint marks matter, too. The Philadelphia minted, no mint mark, and Denver minted, D mint mark, coins each present unique challenges. The Philadelphia nickels often suffered from weaker strikes, making full steps extremely rare. The Denver issues, though generally stronger, were not immune to die erosion and rushed production, meaning true full steps coins are like gold dust. It's no wonder that when collectors meet at conventions or share their stories online, the 1996 full steps nickel holds an almost mythical status. Conversations spark. Binders are flipped through. Auction catalogs are scrutinized. Every so often, a dealer will quietly whisper that he knows someone who might, just might, have one for sale. And when that happens, the excitement in the air becomes electric. Owning a 1996 5-cent coin with full steps isn't just about owning a rare object. It's about owning a piece of the American spirit, about patience, resilience, and the enduring value of things crafted with care. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures are hiding right under our noses, in the most ordinary of places. So if you find yourself emptying a drawer of forgotten change, or rolling coins with your kids, or picking up a handful of nickels at the local bank just for fun, pause. Look closer. Run your thumb over Monticello. Examine those steps. You never know. A single 5-cent piece could hold a story worth more than money. It could hold history, craftsmanship, perseverance, and maybe, just maybe, a fortune waiting to be discovered, because the 1996 Jefferson nickel reminds us all, sometimes, in the smallest, humblest corners of life, we find our greatest treasures. The year was 1984, a time when America stood on the edge of rapid change yet still clung to cherished traditions. Ronald Reagan was president, and there was a feeling of bold optimism in the air. The Los Angeles Olympics captured the imagination of the world, Michael Jackson's music dominated the airwaves, and personal computers were beginning to find their way into American homes. Yet even amidst such modern revolutions, certain timeless objects remained constant. Things like the humble 5-cent Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel had already been part of everyday American life for nearly half a century by 1984. First introduced in 1938, designed by the talented Felix Schlag, the coin honored one of the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, whose principles of liberty and democracy shaped the nation's spirit. On one side, Jefferson's thoughtful profile gazed into the future. On the reverse, his majestic home, Monticello, stood as a testament to enduring craftsmanship and American pride. In 1984, millions of nickels poured out of the U.S. mints in Philadelphia and Denver. Most of these coins would soon be clinking inside vending machines, resting in the dusty bottoms of purses, or exchanged in everyday transactions without a second thought. The production was swift and massive, and with the emphasis on speed, precision often fell by the wayside. Dies wore out quickly, and details became blurred. Weak strikes and surface blemishes were common, leaving few coins with sharp, full details, yet hidden among the countless ordinary nickels were a few rare miracles. A select number of 1984 Jefferson nickels managed to emerge from the chaos of mass production almost untouched, with sharply defined features, dazzling luster, and the most sought-after characteristic of all, full steps on Monticello's depiction. Every single line of the steps crisp and intact, like a miniature architectural masterpiece struck in metal. To the trained eye of a collector, these coins are not merely change, they are treasures. Today, the highest quality 1984 5-cent coins, particularly those that boast full steps and near-flawless surfaces, have become phenomenally valuable. Some of the best-preserved specimens have fetched incredible prices at auctions, ranging from $58,000 to $110,000, depending on their grade, eye appeal, and mint origin. These numbers are no fantasy. Take the story of a retired teacher in Michigan who, during a snowy winter afternoon, decided to sort through her old coin jars. Decades of saving pocket change had piled up unnoticed. As she carefully examined each coin under a desk lamp, one nickel caught her attention. It looked unusually sharp. She packaged it and sent it off for grading, just to be certain. Weeks later, the results stunned her: MS-68 full steps. That one little coin, plucked from a dusty coffee jar, sold for an astonishing $96,500 at a major auction, giving her the financial freedom to take her dream trip across Europe. Similarly, a young college student in North Carolina, studying history, stumbled upon a nearly flawless 1984 nickel during a coin roll hunting expedition. To his amazement, it was graded MS-67 full steps, a phenomenal rarity. The auction hammer dropped at just over $89,000, allowing him to graduate debt-free and pursue his dream career in archaeology. Why is the 1984 5-cent coin so special? Part of the magic lies in the era itself. 1984 was a transitional time for the mint. Technological advancements were just beginning to affect minting processes, but not enough to guarantee consistent, high-quality strikes. As a result, coins from this year vary wildly in quality. Most suffered from weak details, especially on Monticello's steps. Only an incredibly small fraction, coins struck early with fresh dies under ideal conditions, possess the full, uninterrupted staircase coveted by collectors. Another factor is the mint location. Coins from the Denver Mint, marked with AD, often exhibited slightly better strikes than those from Philadelphia, no mint mark. However, even Denver's output was far from flawless. Collectors tirelessly hunt both varieties, knowing that either could be the key to completing the ultimate Jefferson nickel set. Grading plays a crucial role in a 1984 nickel's value. Coins graded by PCGS or NGC at MS-67 or MS-68, with full steps designation, sit atop a collector's wish list. Each grade higher not only adds prestige but can multiply the coin's value exponentially. Surviving examples of such quality are exceedingly rare, making each discovery feel almost magical. Today, the legend of the 1984 nickel continues to inspire. Coin enthusiasts, both seasoned veterans and wide-eyed newcomers, pour through rolls of nickels, searching for that perfect specimen. Metal detectors sweep parks and old fairgrounds in hopes of unearthing a lost gem. Grandparents hand down old jars of change to their grandchildren, unknowingly passing along potential fortunes, yet beyond the monetary reward, the 1984 5-cent coin represents something deeper. It symbolizes the beauty of craftsmanship in an era increasingly defined by speed. It reminds us that even in the most common places, a handful of change, a forgotten drawer, extraordinary treasures await those who take the time to look. So next time you find a nickel jingling in your pocket, pause for a moment. Look closely. Run your fingers across Monticello's steps. Examine the sharpness of Jefferson's portrait. For hidden in plain sight, among the ordinary and overlooked, you just might find a piece of history, a reminder that greatness often hides in the humblest of places, waiting for someone with patience, curiosity, and hope to discover it. The 1984 5-cent coin is not just a piece of metal. It is a symbol of perseverance, of overlooked beauty, and of the thrilling possibility that at any moment, in the most unlikely circumstances, something truly extraordinary might come into your life.